What happens when someone you once trusted, someone you thought you knew, becomes the source of unimaginable horror? When a heartbreak doesn't fade away but turns into a dark, vengeful fire that consumes everything in its path. This is not just a story about love lost, it's about how obsession can destroy a family and tear apart an entire community. Hi, I'm the sleepy storyteller, and tonight I want to take you deep into the quiet town of Willow Creek, a place where neighbors said hello on the street and children played without a care. It was here that the Hunt family lived what seemed like a perfect life. Mark and Olivia Hunt, with their teenage daughter Claire and young son Ethan, were known by everyone as the heart of the community, kind, warm, and seemingly untouchable by tragedy. Mark ran the town's hardware store and Olivia was a nurse, the kind of people you'd turn to in times of need. But beneath the calm surface, the seeds of a terrible nightmare were quietly taking root. 2 years before everything changed, Olivia's younger sister Natalie brought her boyfriend Derek Wallace into the family's life. At first, Derek was charming, likable, and full of promise, a talented graphic designer who quickly became a favorite at family dinners, bonding with Claire over music and sharing laughs with little Ethan, who adored him like a big brother. To outsiders, it looked like the perfect addition to the family circle. But the picture started to crack. Derek's charm gave way to control and his warmth turned cold. Those closest to Natalie noticed his grip tightening around her life. He isolated her, clipped her wings, and when she pushed back, his temper flared. Natalie confided in Olivia, hoping for support, and Olivia, protective as ever, urged her sister to stand firm and seek help if needed. And then came the breaking point. One violent night, Natalie ended the relationship. But Derek didn't just walk away. He became obsessed, his fixation shifting in the most terrifying way, from Natalie to Olivia herself. Stalking, threats, and a relentless presence in their lives became the new reality for the Hunt family. That obsession would soon explode into a tragedy the town of Willow Creek would never forget. From the outside, Natalie and Derek seemed like a perfect match. Their relationship had all the trappings of happiness, shared laughter, late-night talks, and plans for the future. Derek was well-spoken, creative, and when he was with Natalie, he had a way of lighting up her world. The Hunt family welcomed him with open arms. Olivia often joked about how Derek fit in so well, like he had always been part of their family. Claire enjoyed exchanging playlists with him, and Ethan would eagerly follow Derek around, eager to hear stories about the art projects he worked on. But those smiles and easy conversations began to fade over time. It wasn't long before the people closest to Natalie noticed subtle changes. Derek's lighthearted charm shifted into something much darker. He started calling Natalie incessantly when she wasn't with him, questioning where she was and who she was with. What first seemed like concern quickly turned into demands. Invitations to social events became restrictions. Once eager to spend time with friends, Natalie found herself isolated, cut off from the people she loved. Olivia watched these changes with growing alarm. The sister she knew, once vibrant and full of life, began to withdraw. When Natalie confided in her, the fear in her voice was unmistakable. Derek's temper flared unpredictably, and his apologies always came with promises to change, promises that never lasted. Olivia urged Natalie to trust her instincts and to remember that love should never come with fear. Despite the warnings, Natalie held on to hope. Derek had moments of kindness, and those moments convinced her that maybe he was just struggling, that she could help him become the man he once was. But as the months passed, the control tightened. Then came the night that shattered everything. A loud argument erupted between Natalie and Derek, loud enough that neighbors heard shouting from the house. This wasn't the first time they'd fought, but this time Natalie's resolve was firm. She ended the relationship, a decision that sent Derek into a rage unlike anything the family had seen before. The obsessive messages began immediately. Calls in the middle of the night, texts pleading for forgiveness, and then the threats, veiled at first, then growing bolder and more frightening. Derek showed up unannounced at Natalie's workplace and the Hunt family home. The protective instincts in Olivia and Mark kicked into overdrive. They urged Natalie to get help, and soon a restraining order was in place. But even that didn't stop Derek. His obsession twisted, and it became clear he wasn't just angry at Natalie, he blamed the entire Hunt family, especially Olivia. What started as a personal grudge grew into something far more dangerous. Derek began showing up near Olivia's workplace, leaving small, unsettling gifts. Security cameras were installed at the Hunt home, and the family kept close watch, but Derek's presence was like a shadow that no barrier could keep out. The community was stunned. How could someone so charming and talented become a threat so extreme? The answers would only come with time, but not before the unimaginable happened. The tension in Willow Creek grew as Derek's obsession crossed all boundaries. What started as frequent, unsettling appearances soon turned into constant, menacing surveillance. Neighbors reported seeing Derek lurking near the Hunt residence at odd hours. Olivia's friends worried for her safety, often urging her to take precautions, but Olivia was determined to protect her family herself. Mark, usually calm and pragmatic, found himself sleepless, pacing the floors of their home, trying to figure out how to shield his loved ones from this growing threat. The local police had been notified multiple times, but Derek was careful, never caught in the act of trespassing, leaving little concrete evidence. Surveillance cameras recorded vague shadows and quick movements that sent chills down the spines of everyone who saw them. Yet Derek seemed untouchable, a ghost slipping through cracks in the law. Behind closed doors, the Hunt family held urgent conversations about what to do next. Olivia's work shifts at the hospital became more stressful, her mind always half on the threats waiting at home. Claire and Ethan noticed the tension but didn't understand the full weight of the danger their family faced. Olivia tried to shield them, giving them reassurances she didn't always feel. Then came the night Willow Creek would never forget. It was late October, the air crisp and heavy with the scent of falling leaves. The Hunt home, a sturdy two-story house nestled at the edge of a quiet street, should have been a sanctuary. Instead, it became the scene of one of the darkest crimes the town had seen. Neighbors recalled hearing an explosion, a sudden, horrifying blast that shattered the quiet night. Flames leapt from the windows, casting a fiery glow that lit up the sky. Panic swept through the street as people rushed outside, calling emergency services with trembling voices. When firefighters arrived, the house was engulfed. Rescue efforts were immediate but painstaking. Inside the burning wreckage, the discovery was heartbreaking. Mark, Olivia, Claire, and Ethan had not only suffered from the flames but had been attacked before the fire had even started. The investigation revealed signs of a brutal assault, wounds that spoke of rage and cruelty. The fire, investigators determined, was an attempt to erase evidence, to turn a horrific crime into a tragic accident. But the town knew better. There was no accident here. This was a message, one soaked in hatred and pain. Within hours, Derek Wallace became the focus of a manhunt that gripped the community. His car was found abandoned just miles from town. Surveillance footage from nearby stores and homes placed him near the Hunt residence on that dreadful night. The DNA evidence tied him unmistakably to the crime scene. As news spread, shock turned to disbelief. How could a man who once shared dinners and celebrations with the Hunt family commit such a cold act? Friends who had trusted him struggled to reconcile the image they had of Derek with the reality unfolding before them. But the story didn't end there. Derek's plan, as chilling as it was, reflected a mind consumed by vengeance. It wasn't simply about Natalie anymore, it was about punishing everyone connected to the love he had lost. The trial revealed his painstaking preparations, his willingness to cross every line. In the courtroom, prosecutors laid bare the trail of obsession and violence. They spoke of Derek's refusal to accept the breakup and how his hatred had grown, consuming any empathy or reason. The defense offered little, a shadow of excuses that couldn't justify the lives lost. Natalie, spared from the attack but deeply scarred, sat in the courtroom watching a man she once loved be exposed for who he truly was. The community stood behind her, mourning the Hunt family and grappling with the terrible lesson this tragedy taught. Willow Creek would never be the same. The story of the Hunt family served as a stark reminder that danger can come from those closest to us, that obsession unchecked can lead to unspeakable horrors. And for those left behind, the pain remains, a wound that time alone cannot heal. The courtroom was thick with anticipation the day Derek Wallace was brought to trial. The town of Willow Creek had gathered in spirit, even if not in body, as the case unfolded. For many, the trial was more than a legal proceeding, it was a reckoning, a desperate attempt to find justice in the face of overwhelming grief. Inside the packed courtroom, the air felt heavy, as if the weight of the tragedy hung over every seat. Natalie sat quietly, her hands trembling slightly as the proceedings began. For her, this was a moment filled with mixed emotions, relief that the truth would come out, sorrow for the family lost, and fear of reopening wounds that had barely started to heal. The prosecution wasted no time in presenting their case. They carefully pieced together the narrative of Derek's descent into obsession, weaving in evidence that painted a chilling picture. Emails, messages, and recorded phone calls revealed the pattern of a mind spiraling out of control. His increasing fixation on Natalie and the Hunt family was clear, as were the steps he took to isolate and intimidate them. Experts testified on the psychological impact of obsession and stalking, helping the jury understand the dangerous mindset that had driven Derek to commit his terrible acts. Their words were sobering, shining a light on a darkness that had gripped a man once known for kindness and warmth. The defense struggled to counter this evidence. They portrayed Derek as a broken individual, grappling with heartbreak and loss. But their arguments rang hollow against the overwhelming facts. The jury listened intently, absorbing every detail with growing certainty. Outside the courthouse, the community remained deeply affected. Vigils were held for the Hunt family, candlelight flickering softly in the night as neighbors came together to mourn. Messages of support poured in from all corners, offering comfort to Natalie and others left behind. The tragedy had shaken the town's sense of safety and trust, and healing seemed distant. Local leaders spoke publicly about the need for increased awareness around mental health and the importance of protecting those at risk from similar dangers. The tragedy sparked conversations that many had avoided before, conversations about warning signs and the vital role of community vigilance. As the trial progressed, Natalie found strength she hadn't known she possessed. Though the pain was raw, she spoke out about her experience, hoping to raise awareness and prevent others from suffering as she had. Her courage inspired many, turning her into a quiet beacon of resilience amid the darkness. Meanwhile, the jury worked diligently, weighing every piece of evidence with care. After days of testimony, deliberations stretched long into the night. The decision they faced was one that would change lives forever. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom was silent except for the clear, steady voice of the judge. Derek Wallace was found responsible for the crime, and justice was served. For some, the verdict brought a measure of peace. For others, it was only the beginning of a long healing process. The aftermath of the trial rippled through Willow Creek. The Hunt family story became a touchstone for change, inspiring new initiatives focused on safety and support for those facing similar threats. Schools began programs to educate young people on the dangers of obsession and the importance of healthy relationships. Community groups organized workshops on recognizing and responding to warning signs. Natalie continued her journey, channeling her grief into advocacy. She worked with local organizations to create resources for victims of harassment and violence, striving to transform her pain into hope for others. Her efforts were recognized far beyond Willow Creek, drawing attention to the crucial need for support networks and preventative measures. The scars left by that night remained, visible and invisible, shaping the lives of all who had been touched by the tragedy. But in time, a new spirit began to emerge, a determination to rebuild, to remember, and to ensure that no one else would suffer in silence. Willow Creek learned a harsh lesson about the fragility of safety and the strength found in community. The story of Derek Wallace and the Hunt family served as a lasting reminder that vigilance, compassion, and justice must go hand in hand to protect the vulnerable. Though the past could not be changed, the future held the possibility of healing. And for Natalie and many others, that hope became a guiding light, a promise that even in the darkest moments, resilience and courage could lead the way forward. The days following the trial were a mixture of relief and exhaustion for Natalie. The verdict had closed one chapter, but the process of healing was just beginning. The memories of that night remained vivid, sometimes catching her unprepared, threatening to pull her back into the darkness she fought so hard to leave behind. At first, each morning was a challenge. The quiet of her home echoed too loudly, and shadows lurked in corners of her mind. Sleep came in fits and starts, often haunted by dreams that replayed fragments of pain. But slowly, with the support of close friends and family, Natalie found small ways to reclaim her sense of self. She began by reconnecting with the routines that once brought her comfort. Morning walks in the park, the smell of fresh coffee brewing, the simple joy of reading a book became gentle anchors. These moments reminded her that life, even after tragedy, could hold beauty and peace. Therapy played a crucial role in her recovery. Through weekly sessions, Natalie learned to face her fears, unraveling the complex emotions tied to what she had endured. She discovered that healing was not a straight path but a winding road, sometimes moving forward, sometimes stepping back. Patience became her companion. In those sessions, Natalie found a voice she hadn't known she possessed. Speaking her truth aloud, acknowledging her pain and her strength, became a powerful act of reclaiming control. The therapist's guidance helped her transform feelings of helplessness into determination. As months passed, Natalie's focus shifted outward. She wanted her experience to matter beyond her own life. The fear and isolation she had felt fueled a desire to help others facing similar challenges. The seed of advocacy was planted, growing stronger with each step forward. Natalie began volunteering with local organizations dedicated to supporting individuals affected by harassment and violence. She found purpose in sharing her story, not for sympathy but to offer hope. Her honesty resonated deeply, encouraging others to speak up and seek help. Her efforts extended to schools and community centers, where she spoke about boundaries, respect, and the importance of recognizing warning signs early. These talks were emotional, sometimes draining, but always rewarding. Each connection she made reinforced her commitment to change. In addition to public speaking, Natalie helped develop resources tailored to victims' needs. She collaborated with counselors, legal experts, and social workers to create guides that offered practical advice and emotional support. This work, often behind the scenes, was crucial in building a stronger safety net. Social media became another platform for her advocacy. Natalie used it thoughtfully, crafting posts that blended personal reflections with educational content. Her growing following appreciated her genuine voice and the balance she maintained between vulnerability and strength. Through her advocacy, Natalie met others who had faced their own struggles. These connections forged a community bound by resilience and shared purpose. Together, they organized fundraisers, awareness campaigns, and support groups, amplifying their impact. Her journey was not without setbacks. There were days when the weight of the past felt overwhelming, moments when doubt crept in. But each time, Natalie reminded herself of how far she had come and the lives she was touching. The sense of meaning fueled her forward. Family remained a pillar of support. Their presence was a steady reassurance, a reminder that she was never alone. Celebrations, quiet dinners, and laughter filled the spaces once shadowed by grief. These moments nurtured her spirit and helped rebuild trust in the world around her. Natalie's work also caught the attention of local leaders and policymakers. Invitations came to participate in advisory panels and task forces focused on improving safety measures and support systems. Her insights, grounded in personal experience, added valuable perspective to these efforts. One of the most significant changes she witnessed was in the broader community mindset. Conversations that had once been taboo now became part of public dialogue. Schools implemented programs on healthy relationships, and local law enforcement increased training on how to handle cases with sensitivity. The ripple effects of Natalie's advocacy were evident. More people came forward to share their stories, breaking cycles of silence. Resources became more accessible and preventive measures were strengthened. Though the road ahead was still long, progress was undeniable. Through it all, Natalie maintained a quiet strength. She never sought the spotlight but embraced the responsibility that came with her voice. Her journey showed that healing and action could coexist, each fueling the other. In time, Natalie also began to explore new passions and dreams. The experience that had reshaped her life also gave her a clearer sense of purpose. She pursued education and counseling, aiming to specialize in trauma support, wanting to help others navigate the difficult path she had traveled. Her story, while deeply personal, became a testament to the power of resilience. It was a reminder that even after the darkest nights, dawn could break, with hope, support, and determination guiding the way. Natalie's journey was far from over, but she faced the future with renewed courage. Each step forward was a tribute to those she had lost and a promise to those still struggling. Her life was a quiet rebellion against despair, a story of survival transformed into a beacon of light. Natalie's advocacy gradually sparked a movement that extended beyond her immediate community. What began as a personal mission to support those affected by trauma soon evolved into a catalyst for systemic change. Her voice, once fragile, now resonated with power and clarity, inspiring others to challenge long-standing norms and demand better protections. A key part of this transformation was the growing awareness within schools and institutions. Natalie worked closely with educators and administrators to develop comprehensive programs that taught respect, empathy, and consent. These initiatives were designed not only to educate young people but also to create safe environments where difficult conversations could happen openly and without judgment. In classrooms across the city, students engaged in workshops and discussions that challenged harmful stereotypes and emphasized the importance of mutual understanding. Teachers were trained to recognize signs of distress and respond with sensitivity, fostering a culture of care and accountability. Natalie's involvement helped shape these programs into something both practical and deeply human. At the local government level, her contributions were instrumental in shaping policy changes. She participated in forums where survivors' experiences were brought to the forefront, ensuring that laws and regulations reflected the realities faced by many. These efforts helped introduce more survivor-centered approaches to handling cases, prioritizing dignity and support over punishment alone. Public safety initiatives also saw improvement. Law enforcement officers received specialized training to handle sensitive situations more effectively, promoting trust between communities and authorities. This shift encouraged more individuals to come forward, knowing their concerns would be met with respect and professionalism. Natalie's advocacy also extended into healthcare settings. She collaborated with medical professionals to improve the way trauma survivors were treated, emphasizing holistic care that addressed both physical and emotional needs. These partnerships helped create protocols that ensured survivors received compassionate and comprehensive support during difficult moments. Beyond institutional reforms, Natalie's influence touched the cultural fabric of the community. Conversations around boundaries and respect became more common in social circles, workplaces, and public forums. The stigma that once silenced many began to fade as empathy and understanding took root. Social media campaigns played a significant role in this cultural shift. Natalie's thoughtful posts reached a wide audience, sparking dialogue and encouraging others to share their stories. Hashtags promoting awareness and solidarity trended regularly, connecting people from diverse backgrounds and fostering a sense of shared purpose. Community organizations multiplied, fueled by the momentum her work generated. Grassroots groups organized events, support circles, and educational seminars, providing safe spaces where individuals could heal and grow. These networks reinforced the message that nobody had to face challenges alone. Natalie's story became a beacon for many, demonstrating that personal healing could fuel broader impact. She was invited to speak at conferences, universities, and media outlets, always emphasizing the need for collective responsibility and compassionate action. Her humility and authenticity made her message accessible and inspiring. One significant milestone came when a regional coalition was formed, uniting various stakeholders to address systemic gaps. Natalie played a key role in this alliance, helping bridge gaps between policymakers, service providers, and survivors. The coalition worked to streamline resources and ensure that support was timely, coordinated, and effective. This collaborative approach brought measurable results. Response times improved, access to counseling and legal aid increased, and preventive education became a regular feature in community programming. These advancements showed that change was possible when diverse voices came together with a shared commitment. Natalie also used her platform to highlight intersections often overlooked in discussions about trauma. She advocated for inclusive approaches that recognized how factors such as age, background, and identity influenced experiences and needs. Her insistence on intersectionality encouraged more nuanced and effective responses. Despite the progress, Natalie remained grounded in the understanding that transformation was ongoing. She acknowledged the challenges ahead, including resistance from those invested in maintaining the status quo. Yet, her hope never wavered, fueled by the growing wave of support and the tangible changes taking shape. The impact of her advocacy rippled outward, inspiring similar movements in neighboring communities and beyond. Her work became part of a larger conversation about justice, healing, and empowerment, one that continues to evolve with each new voice that joins in. Through it all, Natalie maintained a balance between her public role and personal growth. She continued to invest in her own well-being, recognizing that sustainable change required strength and resilience. Her journey served as a reminder that advocacy was not just about changing the world but also about nurturing the self. In the end, Natalie's efforts helped shift the narrative from silence and shame to one of courage and connection. She showed that even in the face of profound hardship, it was possible to build a future defined by respect, support, and hope.